In this video, we will take a look at what Python lists are. Remember in the variable video, we said we can use variables to hold values and later use them in our code. So let's say we want to list all the planets in the solar system. The traditional way we go about it is to declare a variable for each of them and then write them down like this. What if you want to list 100 items or the names of all students in a school? It wouldn't just be convenient to declare variable for each of the items that we want to store. And that is where Python enables us to store more than one value in a particular variable using what we call lists. List is just one of those data types that will help us to store more than one value in a particular variable. So let us look at how we will put this one in the form of a list. We can just declare one variable here called planet. And then we open a set of square brackets. And inside this square brackets, we can list all the elements we want to list separated by commas. So we list inside all these 8 variables and we separate them with commas, just like this. We have now declared one variable that contains all these 8 values. And then we can use this anywhere in our code, either using them together or accessing them individually. So let's get rid of this plenty variables and then see how we can work with Python list. One of the methods we can perform on the list is to check the length of the list. So we know that one. We can use the len to check the length of variables or objects in our language. When we print the length, we get 8 because there are 8 elements in there. What if you want to access the first or any other value? Looking at them, their positions, Mercury is at position number 1 and then Neptune position number 8. But in programming, how we access these things, we call it indexing. And then we don't start counting from 1 as we normally do. We count starting from 0. So in this case, Mercury be at index 0 and then Neptune will be at index 7. And how do we print out the elements at each index? So if I clear this, I can access it by saying planet and open another set of square brackets. This time around, I'm not using it to declare a list. I'm using it to index into a particular list. And then let us just print 1. The number we put inside this square bracket is the position, the index that we want to print. So the elements at that index position that we want to print. So if I run my code, I get Venus, but that is not at position number 1. And that is, if you want to get the position number 1, you have to access it with the 0 index. And that is how we index into a list, and you can see that it printed it just Mercury alone to the screen. And so anywhere in our code, we can use this Mercury either in another sentence, however we want to use it, we can use it in our code. But we have all 8 stored in one particular variable, and that is the convenience that comes with lists. And there are other operations also that we can perform on lists. Let's say we want to add one item to the list that we have already declared. So we want to add one item as the program is running. In that case, we want to declare planets, and then we can use a couple of methods. We can use the append. That means we want to insert an element at the last index, like after the last element that currently exists. So this append will look at the list and the last element that currently exists in the list, and then add the one that we will append to the end of that one. So it will always be at the end. Let's say we want to include Pluto also. So now that we have included Pluto, we can print our planets and then see what value will come. We see, of course, the 8 that we declared, which is up to Neptune, and then another one added, which is Pluto. So that is how we add elements to the list at the end, of course. But if you want to insert it at a particular index, then we use the insert. Let me say I want to insert it at position 0. So in that case, I'll not only pass in the value I want to insert, I will pass in first the particular index. So index 0, I want it to be Pluto. So this declares the index, and then this declares the value that is going to that particular index. So let us print it again. And now I see that 0 is not occupied by Mercury again, it's now occupied by Pluto. So that's also how we insert into a particular index. How do we delete an element from the list while the program is running? That one we can use the pop method. And then what pop does is it takes in an index, and then it will take that element or that value out and return it to us. So now when we pop the element at index 0 and print our list, you see that it starts from Venus. That's also how we delete an item from the list. Of course, these are not the only operations that we can perform on list. You saw that PyCharm's intelligence, the moment we hit the dot, that means we want to access something in there. There's also the copy that helps us to copy the list. We want to create a copy of the list. Fine, it will create it for you. And then the sort also will sort it for you in a particular order. And then the extend will extend the list using another list. You have another list, you want to extend this one to, you can do that. And the reverse to also reverse it. Now, if we use reverse on this list, it will rather start from Neptune to Mercury. So let's go through one or two of these and then we call it a day. So we saw the pop, the index, and the append. The count here. Let's say we want to count the occurrence of a particular element. So let me duplicate Neptune. Now it appears twice. So in here, I pass what I want to count. So Neptune, and then okay, so this one should be a variable. So count equal to, then let me print count here. You see that Neptune appears 2 times because I intentionally duplicated it. So if I'm now looking for Mars, and I rerun it, Mars comes in only once. So you want to count the occurrence of a particular element in the list, you can use the count. And then another one also, let's see. The extend. So let's just break this list into 2. Let's pretend that we have planet 1 and then planet 2. Which will also be a list. And then we close it by this. So now we have 2 planets. If we print out planets like we did at first, we only get up to Mars. But what if we want to extend it by adding this list? We can't just use the append because it's also a list. When we append it, it will come in as a list. So let's just try. And then say planet. Let's say this one is 3, and then try and then use the append. And we don't even have to declare planet 3. Planet dot append, and then let's append planet 2. You may think this one will work, but let's see. It did work, but not like we expected it. It's inserted another list at that index. And that is also one property that the list can contain list. It can nest list inside the list. We have that flexibility also. But we don't want it this way. We want it to be one big list. And that is where the extend comes in. So you say planet.extend. Then we can extend it using Planet2. And then in this case, when we run it, it wouldn't be that way. It will be one big list. So that will be all for lists, and I'll see you another time with another video. Thank you for your time.